Join me in the council prayer. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please join me now in honoring America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Dakota.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Bud Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm requesting a moment of silence with darkened chambers for Helen M. Laird, registered nurse, a loving wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. Mrs. Laird served her country with pride and distinction during the Second World War in the United States Navy Nurses Corps, earning the rank of ensign. Also, Mrs. Laird worked for the City of Lowell Health Department as a school nurse, retiring after 36 years of dedicated service. Helen was very active at St. Michael's Church in Centerville and in the parish community. Mrs. Laird, the mother of Thomas and Robert, daughters Jane Hoffman and Mary Callery, who is employed by the City of Lowell in the Human Resource Office. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to also offer 2 moments of silence. One for Bill Eklund. Bill died last week, and he was a lifelong Lowell resident, served in the Korean War, and I think is best known around town for his devotion to youth baseball in the city. He was a very talented, capable player, was drafted, played professionally, finally for the Baltimore Orioles at the end of his career, when the Orioles were still a AAA team. But went on to found the baseball team at American Legion Post 87 and was dedicated to that work and coaching young players for many, many years. The other, and he's survived by his wife and 3 children, all of whom live in Lowell. One of the children lives in California, but the others all remain active here in the city. The other moment of silence is for Anna Sullivan. Anna was also a lifelong resident of the city, died this week at the age of 91, I believe. She was had a long career at St. John's Hospital in nursing and teaching, and was a very active member of Sacred Heart Parish up until the time it closed, and then thereafter Holy Family Parish. So she was a remarkable woman, again, who did many great things for others during her service at the hospital and in the parish. So they will both be truly missed.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. Let us all rise now in darkened chambers for a moment of silence. Thank you. May they rest in peace. Next order of business would be to approve the minutes of the March 15th meeting for acceptance.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Dakota. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed? It's a vote. Under City Manager, communications from City Manager, responses to council motions and requests. Do we have anybody that would like to be heard on any? Councilor Caulfield.
It's not from the manager's communication, but I was informed just yesterday that there are some serious leaks in the Murray School roof, and I just wanted the manager could update us on that. And the roof should be under some sort of a guarantee by the architect, the builder, and so forth. And have we had some sort of communication with that contractor?
To tell you the truth, Counselor, this is the first I've heard of this, so I'll do a follow-up, and you're right, it will be under warranty. We will follow up on it, and we'll get something out to the council on that.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else on the communications? Council Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to briefly comment on the letter in the packet from the Department of Revenue. Lifting some restrictions that it had imposed on us a few years back. The letter indicates that we're no longer required to submit our final audit and balance sheet for free cash certification prior to setting the tax rate. The Department of Revenue had been requiring that for a few years now. So I think it's a compliment to the work of the administration to really get us on sound financial footing. And if I could, I'd just like to read one brief sentence from the Department of Revenue letter. It lifts the restrictions, and it goes on to say it's traditionally required these documents from communities throughout the Commonwealth that were struggling financially. However, Lowell has done a remarkable job during difficult financial times over the past few years to improve its situation. So, again, I think things are far from rosy here, and we certainly have our problems as other places do. But I think overall, the work that's been done by the council and the administration has served to right our ship, and we continue to have challenges, but I think we're meeting those challenges better than people are in most other communities. So, compliment to the administration for that work.
Thank you, Council Martin. Anyone else under responses, comments? Council Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did receive a annual report from the Green Building Commission, and just detailing what has been accomplished over the last year, and so I commend them for what has been done and for their 3 years in existence since the manager created them. A number of things were achieved, and they do lay out some priorities for the next year, which I look forward to working on with them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Council Murphy. Councilor Elliott.
Just briefly, and I know there's been a lot of notices on this, but next Tuesday, right as we're having our council meeting, I just think people should know there's a meeting, a design meeting and improvements for South Common, and I think that's pretty significant considering it's widely used. However, it's in very poor condition. Is there any idea, and I know this is the meeting that will probably answer this question, what the planned purpose of it is going to remain a recreational area, Mr. Manager, or is that is anything, is it up in the air with everything?
Mr. Manager?
Well, it's somewhat up in the air, but I would say that, and actually there was a little bit of a discussion on the South Common a little bit at the subcommittee meeting right before this, but in generally it's more of a refurbishment that's intended, improvements of the area. The only programmatic change that's really being sort of talked about is perhaps the conversion of the swimming pool that's on the site to a splash pad, similar to what we have at Shed Park. It's a little bit easier to maintain, a little bit more. It's certainly easier to operate, and they're very popular. And we have other areas in the city for swimming. This will provide just another option for people for summer activities. But the field itself would still be used as a general use soccer field. The track would remain and be improved, but generally it's a large part of landscaping improvements and just overall refurbishment. It's a facility that hasn't received quite a bit of investment, certainly through the years, and we're working with the state on a plan to come up with the funding to make those improvements.
I'm pleased to hear that, because as we all know, there is a terrific demand for open space and soccer fields. I know that in the past, I think the condition of the field is the way it is for a number of reasons. One is there's always been, or there has been for a number of years, a carnival on that field, and I think it just it certainly has an adverse impact on it. But secondly, I know that for quite some time there's been discussion about artificial turf being put down because of the wear and tear from so many organizations in the city. So I don't know how, I'll say just myself, I know that the meeting is at the same time here, but I think it's important to some degree to weigh in, and I'm sure this is only going to be the one of many meetings.
Right. I do anticipate there'll be other meetings. If I could just touch upon the artificial turf, I know that that's been talked about from time to time. People should keep in mind that field, or that park is an Olmsted. It's a historic park, and there may be some state issues with how the refurbishment takes place because of that. But again, there will be ongoing discussions, and we can keep the council informed as to what happens.
Thank you. I didn't mean to get mired down in this, and I just want to let folks know that there was a meeting, but thank you for answering the questions.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott. Councilor Mendonça?
Yes, I have some questions on the response to Councilor Elliott's motion regarding the census and the re-precincting. My understanding is the data may be available this week.
Mr. Manager?
I saw the census data just before I came in here tonight, so I really didn't get a chance to analyze it, but I will tell you that the city of Lowell maintained its status as the fourth largest community in Massachusetts, where we added about 1,500 people, I think it was, over the last 10 years. Some other communities in the region actually lost population. A couple went up substantially. The city of Cambridge, of course, which is number 5, is inching closer to us. They grew at about 3.2% during that period, and they're about 1,000 people behind us now.
Yeah, some of the state estimates had them at number 4 for a while there.
Right.
Yeah. Some of the, probably one of the things that will come to mind as we go forward, I know the regional school district was, if they reached 30,000 in Drake, they get another seat, and we would get another seat as well.
And that did not occur.
Did not occur, okay. As far as our redistricting process, there's details here that we are going to do it, and there's a timeline that we need to report to the state. June 15th being the date we need to vote on it as a council in order to submit it to the state. I was wondering if we could get any additional details on what process the city is going to go through before that June 15th date in the redistricting process. It's something that happens only once every 10 years, so I'm sure even those that may have known what took place may have forgotten by now.
Right.
So if we could get more information on what the city plans to do between now and June, or what opportunities there might be for public input or council input, then it would be good to have.
We will get that for you within the next week or two.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you. Just briefly on the census report, a great deal of thanks should go to, when I was the mayor, Diane Banowski, and Mr. Mayor, you know as well, the committee who worked tirelessly, beating the drums and having meetings and gatherings and getting that census count the way it should be, correct. And that committee deserves a lot of credit.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilor Dakota?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to just express my gratitude for the response to my motion regarding the Disability Commission and the listing of disabled on the Lowell census. I understand that it's a state general law requirement, but I would like to express the deep concern of the Disabilities Commission in having this included. So I just would like to say that in the future I'll be pursuing ways to try to get this included. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just go back to the first comments that were made by Councilor Martin. I want to thank Councilor Martin for referencing the DOR letter. It is a great accomplishment, I think, that we've been able to have that requirement lifted. It, as you know, what essentially happened back in 2006 was that the city was put on essentially a watch list because of our financial condition, and the actions that were taken over the last 4 years to stabilize the city's finances and really put us on a much better footing, particularly during a very difficult financial time. It really can't be understated because of what it means, not only with just getting the filings into the state, but also this is something that Moody's and Standard & Poor's have watched very carefully. This has had a reflection on how they see the city's finances. They've given us their own positive indicators from time to time as they've issued reports, but they wanted some reassurance from the Department of Revenue as well, and this letter was an important step. And I just want to thank the council for their support for the actions that we've taken over the past 4 years in terms of reorganization of our financial management team, the policies and procedures that we put in place, the budgetary decisions that were made, and I want to give particular credit to Mr. Moses, as Chief Financial Officer, and his team, as well as Cheryl Wright, the City Auditor. The work that goes into working with the Department of Revenue and getting all the approvals and making the case for the city's finances takes a tremendous amount of effort and experience and knowledge, and they've really done a remarkable job in making the case for the city of Lowell.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Anything else on the communications? Motion by Councilor Dakota, seconded by Councilor Mendonça to accept the communications placed on file. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, vote. Next item, under City Manager, request for approval for out-of-state travel. We have two requests this evening. Motion by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Do we take them up together? All those in favor of taking them together signify by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Roll call.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
yes,
9 yeas.
Thank you. Next item is a constable bond. We have a communication from the city manager, addressed to our city clerk. Dear Mr. Johnson, please find attached an application for constableship for the current term beginning on January 4th, 2011, and terminating January 7th, 2014 in the city of Lowell, with my signature is submitted to me by Christopher Swim, 198 Shoreline Road, North Borica. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Signed, Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Need approval by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Any questions? Roll call.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
yes,
9 yeas.
Next item, Crime Stoppers of Lowell appointments. Dear Mayor Milonazo and members of the City Council, pursuant to the authority vested in me as City Manager under the authority set forth in Articles 3, Section 1, Article 5, Section 1, and Article 7, Section 1 of the bylaws of the Crime Stoppers of Lowell Incorporated, it is with pleasure that I'm appointing the following persons to the Crime Stoppers of Lowell Incorporated for a term expiring June 29, 2011, or such time thereafter until successor is appointed and qualified. Jacqueline Caplice, 124 Warwick Street. Joanne DeVries, 164 Parker Street. Ann Machado, 91 Winthrop Avenue. And Kathleen Pender Fanoff, 81 Winthrop Avenue. Since under the above referenced bylaw, confirmation by the City Council is not required for this appointment, this letter is notification of such appointment. I'd be happy to answer any inquiries you may have concerning these appointments. Very truly yours, Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Motion to accept the communication placed on file by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, vote. Next item, we have a resignation letter from Molly Sheehy. It's addressed actually to Mr. Marchand, indicating that she's resigning her position from Crime Stoppers, and we have a communication from the city manager informing us that Molly Sheehy has resigned her position effective January 20th, 2011. Motion to accept the communication and place on file by Councilor Mercier, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Mr. Manager, will you send a letter of thanks to Molly Sheehy? Thank you. Next item, in City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Whereas the City of Lowell desires to make temporary rules regulating traffic under actual conditions for a period of 60 days, and whereas Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations authorizes City Council to make such temporary rules for a period not to exceed 60 days. Now therefore be it ordered, adjudged, and decreed by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. Effective immediately for a period of 60 days thereafter, the following temporary traffic regulations shall be implemented. Section 266-45, one-way streets between certain hours on school days, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 3 p.m., Monday through Friday, on the days only when school is in session. Upon the following streets or portions thereof, vehicular traffic shall move only in the direction indicated below, is hereby amended by adding the following. Bolio Street from Victor Street southerly to West 6th Street between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. If there's no objection, second reading by title, in City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations, are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. What's the wish for the council?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Dakota. Roll call.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
yes,
9 yeas.
Thank you. In City Council vote, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of $500 from Lowell Heritage Partnership Incorporated to be used for costs associated for the cleaning and restoration of the portrait of Mayor Bartlett, the city's first mayor. Whereas the Lowell Heritage Partnership Incorporated desires to donate $500 to be used for costs associated with the cleaning and restoration of the portrait of Mayor Bartlett, the city's first mayor, and whereas the City of Lowell desires to accept the gift of said $500 to be used for costs associated for the cleaning and restoration of the portrait of Mayor Bartlett in preparation of the city's 175th anniversary kickoff celebration, now therefore be it voted that the city manager be, and he is hereby authorized in the name of the City of Lowell to accept a gift in the amount of $500 from Lowell Heritage Partnership Incorporated to be used for costs associated for the cleaning and restoration of the portrait of Mayor Bartlett, the city's first mayor, in preparation of the city's 175th anniversary kickoff celebration pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Be it further voted that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, jointly and severally do hereby commend and officially extend the gratitude of the City of Lowell to the Lowell Heritage Partnership Incorporated for the generosity displayed through the donation of the aforesaid funds to the City of Lowell to be used for costs associated for the cleaning and restoration of the portrait of Mayor Bartlett. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of $500 from Lowell Heritage Partnership Incorporated to be used for costs associated with the cleaning and restoration of the portrait of Mayor Bartlett, the city's first mayor. Councilor Mercia.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's going to be a great celebration, 175 years. I'm glad I'm here to see it. But I just wanted to give a little history about Mayor Bartlett, because I didn't realize he was the first mayor, but I did a little investigating, and his name is Elisha Bartlett, born in October 6, 1804 to July 19, 1855. And he was just 51 years old when he died, very young man. And when he died, he had served as the mayor for 2 years, from 1836 to 1838. He was a medical doctor, he was a professor, and he was a poet, and he served in the Massachusetts House of Representatives, and then he served as our first mayor. And I was surprised to come into the chambers this evening and see his portrait over there, and I was wondering, where did it come from? Was it in the attic, or?
I think LZ Nunn might be able to shed some light on that.
I think we we've all been looking forward to in terms of restoring. I don't have the details on how long it's been in the attic, but I know, I think it's a couple of decades, and we're really excited through Lowell Heritage Partnership tonight to be able to, offer this gift of restoration to the city. I'm honored to be on the board of the Lowell Heritage Partnership, and another interesting historical fact, in addition to Councilor Mercier's facts about Mayor Bartlett, is Thomas Bailey Lawson, who actually designed the portrait and painted the portrait, was the founder of the Lowell Arts Association, and he also did a very famous portrait of Daniel Webster that's become the signature Daniel Webster portrait. So he was one of the signature artists of the 1800s. So we're very lucky to have his portrait. And in addition, we are excited to showcase all of the mayoral portraits on the 175th anniversary of Lowell's incorporation on Monday, April 11th from 4:30 to 6:30 here just outside City Hall. And we invite the entire community as well as our esteemed city council and mayor to that. So we're excited to kick off the celebration of 175 years of Lowell. And I've got some information to pass along to the council about that, if I may.
Yes, you may. Thank you, Elsie,
Thank you.
very much.
And I'd like to,
Yes,
and
Councilor
I'd like
Mercia.
to make a motion that my portrait never goes up in the attic. Can we do that?
Thank you. What's the wish of the council? Move approval by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Roll call.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza. Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Mr. Manager?
Just by way of explanation for the people that came in tonight and didn't see the mayors hanging out there on the wall, they have not been removed permanently. They have just being, I told Councilor Mercia they were, but they're actually, we're rehanging those and painting all the walls, and because of the celebration coming up. So they will be back up any day now.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Continuing on with the agenda, in-city council vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from Trinity EMS of 4 Ford E250 vans, whereas Trinity EMS desires to donate 4 Ford E250 vans for use by the city of Lowell, and whereas the city of Lowell desires to accept the gift of said motor vehicles, now therefore be it voted that the city manager be and he is hereby authorized in the name of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from Trinity EMS of 4 Ford E250 vans pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Be it further voted that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, jointly and severally, do hereby commend and officially extend the gratitude of the City of Lowell to Trinity EMS for the generosity displayed through the donation of the motor vehicles to the City of Lowell. Second reading by title. In City Council vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept the gift from Trinity EMS of 4 Ford E250 vans. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, I'm very grateful to John Chamley, Gary Seppi for those vans that we will receive. But I know that we have a public hearing coming up about $3.2 million loan order. And that loan order, which I asked last week if you could put a list together of all the equipment that we need, and you did. And there are 3 vans, DPW, for $90,000, and 1 for the fire department for $30,000. Since we're getting 4 vans, can we then take those 4 off the list?
Mr. Manager?
You're stealing my thunder, Counselor. Actually, 3 of them, right now, 3 of them are planned to go into the DPW, and you'll see that in the presentation that we've modified the capital plan for that. The 4th one actually was being donated specifically for the Cool office or Cool organization for a marketing efforts. But I'm also working on another donation right now that may allow us to move that van over to another department. So we're still working on that, but 3 right now are coming off the capital plan list, and we're working to see the 4th one do as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Mr. Mayor, can your office, on behalf of the council, send a
Yes.
thank you to John Chimley,
Yes.
Gary Seppi, Chris Dick, and the Trinity EMS for the generous donation?
Yes, we will. Thank you. Motion to approve by Counselor Caulfield, seconded by Counselor Elliott. Roll call.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield.
Yes.
Counselor Dakota.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendoza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. It's public hearing time. Let me first read the loan order, and then if it's okay with my colleagues, I'll recognize the city manager for his presentation, and we'll open it up for public hearing. In City Council loan order, capital improvement bonds to borrow $3,256,972 for the purpose of financing various capital improvements in any related architectural and engineering services in connection therewith and any cost incidental and related thereto. Chair recognizes Manager Lynch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a presentation for the capital plan. Specifically, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, we provided the councilors with the actual document that is our capital plan going out 5 years. And we did provide the council with a specific listing of the items that are included within the 2011 implementation of this capital plan. And what you have before you tonight, actually, at this public hearing is a loan order to implement this first year. And as I just indicated, there have been some modifications which will reduce the loan order amount. We've worked hard to knock it down and defer some items, a number of items that are on the calendar year 2012 portion of the capital plan. Originally were requested for 2011, but we've pushed them back. We've eliminated some requests, and we've taken some action to knock down the price. So, and I'll get to that as I make my presentation. But I would like to note a number of key city employees that are here tonight to be a resource for questions that may arise, but also people that are very interested in what the council is we'll be doing with this loan order. First, we have Assistant City Manager, Public Works Commissioner Ralph Snow, who's here. A good portion of this is related to Public Works with regards to infrastructure and equipment. We also have Ed Patnod from Public Works, Ed Flynn. We also have a number of staff people from the Public Works Department that operate these, many of the vehicles that you will see here and maintain these vehicles. And I know that Councilor Caulfield has, on regular occasions, spoken of the miracle work that these gentlemen do in keeping this equipment going. And as you'll see when we make this presentation, it truly is a miracle that we've been able to keep this going for so long and been able to utilize this equipment to carry out the mission of the Public Works Department. And in particular, I want to thank Ed Flynn, who I don't think he sleeps at night knowing that this equipment is out there, but he's really done a remarkable job. Obviously, we also have with us the Commissioner of Parks, Tom Belgard. A good portion of the equipment tonight is also for the Parks Department. We also have Fire Chief Ed Pitter. Some of the equipment is for the fire department. So I want to thank them for being here, and their interest and their support for this important capital plan. I think I've stated from the outset that becoming city manager that the city really needs to maintain its infrastructure. It's the infrastructure that belongs obviously to all the residents of the city, both past, current, and future. And it really is important for us is the quality of life in the community. Also important to that is the equipment that we have and the vehicles and the equipment that allow our employees to do the jobs that we ask them to do. And that has become more of a challenge over the last number of years because there really hasn't been the type of investment in the equipment that I think we need to put forward. Hopefully this capital plan, this loan order, will allow us to get on the, really get ahead of this. And this is something that's been being worked on for a couple of years now. And in particular, this FY11 plan has been taking place over the last several months, so pulling this together. Okay, initially we had a loan order before you of $3.2 million, $3,256,978. We've reduced this down because of the Trinity donation that Mr. Snow worked with Mr. Chemley on to $3,129,102. That's the loan order that we've put before you tonight. The majority is, as you know, is to replace replace vehicles and equipment in the DPW and its various divisions. As you'll see as we go through some of the pieces of apparatus, much of the equipment is over 20 years old. It is quite old. It is, as you'll see, as you probably know, it's in advanced stages of disrepair. The equipment, in many cases, takes quite a bit of time each morning to get up and running. A number of pieces of equipment are not safe. A number of pieces of equipment are no longer, the parts are no longer available, and other pieces of equipment, they can't be pass inspection. So essentially, they do us no good. About $900,000 is for building and infrastructure improvement projects. You recall that in the past we had a number of items on our building and improvement project list 2 years ago, but a good portion of that has been taken off the list by the Amoresco project, which the City Council already approved. So, and we can speak to that a little bit because that actually has some significance, that Amoresco project, for how we look at the overall debt that the city is carrying. There has been cost savings. As I said, we took a number of items off of the list that was submitted to us by the departments, the requests that were put in. We took them off, we deferred them, and items that we put on, we actually cut back on some of the costs with the help of the DPW staff. For instance, we eliminated $160,000 in cost by the reuse of equipment and parts when appropriate. So, for instance, we have some existing sander bodies that will be helpful to us for some of the pieces of equipment. There was nothing wrong with those. It's just the truck itself that we had the problem with. So we'll hold on to those, and that saves us about $160,000. Councilor Mercier raised a question at the last council meeting, or 2 council meetings ago, asking about when we're looking at the different organization of city government, is there a way that we can move pieces of equipment from one division to another? And that's certainly something that we fully support, and we don't see this necessarily as working as a silo anyway, but in this particular case, there's a good example of that, and that is that there's a new loader at the cemetery division that we don't think is, that we think could be more useful to us in the parks division, and that allowed us to then take a loader off of the park division list, and that saved us $150,000. And then, again, as Councilor Mercier asked, is there a way that we can do something with those vans from Trinity? And the answer being yes. By the strategic use of those 3 vans, we were able to cut $127,000 from this year's request. That's a $127,000 change from the last council meeting to this meeting. In terms of the infrastructure improvements, we're looking at a very modest. The city generally has only, unlike most communities, the city generally has only utilized Chapter 90 money to do road and sidewalk work. Most communities allocate some funding on an annual basis for road improvements and to supplement the Chapter 90. That has not been the case, really, that I've seen here in the city of Lowell. A very, very modest $150,000 we've put into this loan order for street and sidewalk improvements. We see this in two areas, really. There are the occasional small projects that and let me say 3 areas. There are the small projects that we have of sections of roadway that maybe the whole roadway doesn't need to be refinished or rebuilt, but portions of it need to be taken care of. Likewise, sidewalks. There are also as we all know, there are streets that do not qualify for Chapter 90 because they have not been accepted through the normal process. And so those people, those taxpayers, sit waiting for us to do something about accepting those streets. The city of Lowell has an unusually high number of such streets. Again, that's been a backlog of, through the years, streets were not accepted and they should have been. So we now have to do the necessary work to make them acceptable. And in the meantime, as I say, the streets are in disrepair. This will give us some funding that we can now put into making some necessary repairs for those taxpayers. And then the third part of it, again, ties to the acceptance of the streets. This money is available to be put towards the necessary engineering and survey work that's required in order to make the streets acceptable. We've actually done some work on calculating what the payback is on that. Essentially, dollars that we spend on making the roads accepted, there's a payback of about 5 years. Once it gets accepted, then our Chapter 90 money increases, and that will pay back the investments that we need to make those streets acceptable. So this $150,000 can be stretched to do quite a bit of work. I do think in the long run the city should be investing more, but we're trying to do this in a way that's manageable. The good news is that the governor and the legislature, the governor has proposed and the legislature seem supportive of increasing the Chapter 90 money coming to the city in the upcoming year. So we're watching that. It means, I think, several $100,000 more for us that will allow us to do additional roads. We also have in terms of city infrastructure, we have a need for the power generator at the DPW facility. As you know, in an emergency, whether it be a snow emergency or a flood, we rely upon the DPW to be a fully functioning operations center for our equipment. And in order for that to occur, we need to be able to have the ability to have power for communication purposes, but also for the equipment that we need to operate to repair our trucks and other pieces of equipment. And that requires us to have a backup power. And so this $25,000 will go to replace that generator, which has been having problems. There are a number of school projects. There are problems at the Chillers, at the Butler, and the Bailey schools. These are projects that were not included within the Amoresco project because the payback simply wasn't there. But they are chillers that are having problems, and so this is part of, I think former Mayor Martin, Councilor Martin will recall when he was on the school committee, there was work done by the school department to look at their heating and ventilation systems and their roofs, and this was included as part of the recommendation of that study. Most of the recommendations of the study that was done at that time were included in the Amoresco. These particular chillers were not. Likewise, the LeBlanc School, there are issues with the windows there. The windows, as we all know, do not have the payback that we would hope that they would have for energy purposes. So again, these were not included in the Amoresco project. It certainly will have some savings to us, but it was not included in that project. So this $120,000 will allow us to replace those windows. And then $250,000 for doors and weatherization upgrades at Lowell High School. Again, doesn't hit the payback to trigger the Amoresco project, but it does have some energy benefits for us. But primarily, this is for access issues and safety issues at the high school.
Mr. Manager, sorry, would that, be included in our maintenance of effort or not?
That would not be included in the, no. And of course, we're already exceeding that maintenance of effort, so it wouldn't get us to the point. We're already exceeding that. Okay, going through the various pieces of equipment that's on your list, and there's a couple points here where we've made some changes, and hopefully we'll be able to explain the changes that we've made. But for the most part, these are following the list that you have that we provided to you. We have 4 Mack sander trucks. The average age is roughly 25 years, which is a long time to hold on to pieces of equipment that do quite a bit of heavy work. The odometers are not working, and in many cases, the parts are not available. So that's one of those areas that the miracles take place in terms of holding these things together with whatever we can get. And so that's what we're looking at. Unfortunately, from the distance, you can't see the rust that is on the underside of that, as well as on the cab. But clearly, there are issues related to these trucks. We intend to replace those with 4 International Workstars. The sander bodies that I indicated before will be reused, saving a total of $160,000. Those bodies are about $40,000. So these trucks will be brought on and replace those 4 sanders that we have. We also intend to replace 4 Mack sander dump trucks. Again, the rust should be very apparent to you in the pictures. Again, quite old. The average age of these 4 vehicles is 28 years old. Again, parts are not available for these, and they're held together as best they can. What I've observed is that the DPW, to get these trucks going in the morning, requires quite a bit of work. So there's a downtime of an hour or so where the guys are on and waiting for the trucks to get up and running. Very frankly, that's an inefficient use of manpower to have that type of those types of problems, and it just doesn't make a great deal of sense. So those would be replaced with 4 Workstars with a sander dump equipment. The first 4 vehicles that we talked about would be used as sanders. These 4 would be both sanders and dump equipment that we could utilize throughout the year. Also in the streets, we have a Caterpillar, quite a bit an old backhoe with almost 4,000 hours, which is a substantial number of hours of use. Again, it's keeping it running, keeping that going is a challenge, and that would be replaced with a new Deere backhoe, which would be much more suitable for the type of work that we need to take place. The streets. This is actually a dramatic picture. This would be replacing a 1993 Ford F-350 pickup that was recently burned. This is an example of the problem that we have. So, some of these older vehicles, when they run into a state of disrepair, and this particular one is 18, almost 19 years old. Incidents like this are prone to happen as the engines are leaking fluids and having electrical issues. And in this particular one, it was out on Middlesex Street. I was actually in that area that night when it burst into flames. Needless to say, we don't use that one anymore. But that would be replaced with a 2011 pickup. And of course, after that happened, it's been sitting on our capital plan, but waiting for the appropriate time to come forward. Streets, too, we have a 93, an 18, almost 19-year-old loader that's, again, has issues, and it doesn't allow us to utilize it to its maximum effectiveness, and that would be replaced with a 2011 Volvo loader. Same model. Tree removal. We receive a tremendous amount of requests for tree work. We have a number of public trees, and we have a great employee that does an outstanding job for us on the tree work. He's using this International Skyworker now, but there are safety issues with a truck this old, and it isn't able to utilized as fully as a truck should be, and again, it does constitute some safety issues moving forward. So this would be replaced with a 2011 International with the forestry package on it, so it would be a real tree truck. We also have a piece of equipment, a snow-go, for snow removal. You recall we bought a piece of sidewalk equipment recently with a snow blower attached to it. The This particular piece, that will help us on doing snow removal and clearing sidewalks, and that piece of equipment, as Councilor Caulfield knows, is an outstanding piece of equipment, the sidewalk vehicle, and we're actually working with some Chapter 90 money to actually be able to get a second one that will also do some hot top work for us. So we're using some outside resources to make that happen. That can do the sidewalks, and it can help us with some of the snow removal. This particular piece is designed to be mounted onto a front loader, and this will help us with snow removal throughout the city. Essentially what it does is it's like a snow blower, except much larger. It will blow the snow off the road or into a dump truck for snow removal purposes. It's very similar to a piece of equipment that I think some of you may have seen or heard about recently. I think Dick Howe had it on, Richard Howe had it on one of his blogs of an old truck that we used to have in the city some 30, 40 years ago this is all it did, is it had this piece of equipment on the front of it. Those are expensive, and of course they're very specialized. This particular piece of apparatus would just be mounted to the front loader and allow us to use the front loader on double duty, but it serves the same essential purpose. And given the winter conditions we had this year and what we see coming forward, this would be very, very helpful to us. Land and buildings. We do have a 95 Ford Bronco with 124,000 miles. Unfortunately, you can't really see with this with the setup here. I can see it on the PowerPoint papers I have in front of me. Again, the body is rusting out quite a bit. This may actually be the one that I think there's some issues with the floor on this, that some holes in the floor that obviously are a safety issue for us, for our employees. And this would be be replaced with a 2011 and be used to transport equipment, people, and materials for the important work that Land and Buildings does. Again, Land and Buildings, we have 3 vans there. These are not vans that you could use the Trinity vans for. These are vans that transport materials in Land and Buildings, for paint and electrical supplies, plumbing supplies, carpentry supplies that you need to have a full a full van for, not the windows. The average age of these is 16 years, and 2 have failed inspections and it can no longer be utilized in Land and Buildings. So those would be replaced with 1 utility truck, is the bottom picture there. There would be much more versatile to us. It has the back cab that with the compartments that you could transport equipment and material, but also obviously be available to transport ladders and large pieces of large items that you wouldn't be able to use the van for. It would be much more versatile and much more helpful to us. And then of course we would still have 2 of the utility vans that you see at the top picture. So it would be a swap off there. Electrical, again, a problem for us with our electrical. We still do some electrical work that requires us to do work in the air. We currently have a 96 Ford bucket truck, so that's 15, almost 16 years old. Again, the picture, if you can see at the top of the top picture there, the arm that extends with the bucket, you can see that rusting out at the back. That is obviously a safety hazard for our electrical workers, and we would look to replace that with the Ford aerial lift that you see. And that would be, again, we do have to go up and do work at various heights, and this was necessary for that. The Parks Department, the original request that you have in front of you, and this is where if you could just bear with me a little bit, I'll try to explain what we've done here, because this is where the Trinity vans come in. We had 7 vehicles and 1 piece of equipment in total to be replaced with an average age of 16 years. All these various vehicles had a mileage of over 100,000 miles. And, you know, I think we all have cars that are over 100,000 miles, but it's the wear and tear that these vehicles get as trucks and with heavy usage that, and over, with an average age of 16 years, time and conditions and the way they're used tends to have a detrimental impact upon their, you know, their condition. And this was their original request with listing out all of these various items. What we've done is we've taken the vans that had been scheduled, if you can see right up above there, in 2012, there were 3 vans, numbers 6, 9, and 10. Those have been moved over into 2011. We were going to do them in 2012. We've moved them into 2011 because those are the vans that we're actually going to be using the Trinity vans for. And so that's what we're doing with those. Because of that, we wanted to level off the debt service over time. You don't want to have everything stuck on 1 year, so if we could, we moved it back. So items number 11, which is a pickup, is currently a pickup. We're looking to buy a utility van for that. That has been, excuse me, that's staying a pickup. That's being moved back into 2012. We also have, at the very bottom there, a chipper, number 30, that's being pushed back into 2012, and a dump truck, 1972 dump truck. We think we can get by another year by utilizing other DPW equipment and get by without that dump truck. That's being pushed off into 2012 as well. We also have a few changes there, and it's just so you know that, for instance, number 8 is currently a van. We're not replacing that with a van like we did with land and buildings. It doesn't make sense for us to have another van that can only do single duty. We're looking to get a utility truck in 2011 at $45,000 that would be used for. Then we have specialized equipment. Number 12 is currently a pickup again. That will be another van, but that will be replaced with a utility truck that will be outfitted for mechanics and garage. The number 16 is going to be, it's a utility, and that's being replaced with another utility truck for fuel and maintenance deliveries, because we have a lot of equipment out there that we need to transport fuel for, small pieces of equipment, so that it makes more sense for us. And frankly makes more productive use of our employees' time. And then number 19 is a utility truck that will be replaced with a utility truck outfitted as a welder utility truck. So that's why the pricing is a little bit higher in some of those than you would normally see, because they do have the specialized equipment that Commissioner Bellegarde feels is necessary in order to make most effective use of this equipment and his staff. And that's just a detail on that. The fire, we currently have 2 Crown Victorias, 1 Chevy Impala, and a van that have been, that we've had for quite some time. I think the years are listed in in the book that we provided to you. We'd be replacing these with 3 cars and 1 van, and those would be brought on in compliance with the green communities, the vehicle replacement, energy efficient green communities status that we have. So those would be brought on with smaller vehicles that would be much more energy efficient. One of the questions that I know Councilman Donta raised, Councilor Mercia raised, and I think everyone else already had the same questions, is what this means for our debt service. And what we provided you in the capital plan was the sort of the gross debt service net of the school building assistance. So I wanted to kind of walk you through that a little bit. This is what's going to happen. What we did not include in the calculation of that debt service is the effect of the decisions made by the city council is presented by the administration to move forward with the Amoresco project and to move forward with the streetlight purchase. Both of those capital projects have savings to us. The Amoresco project pays for itself in energy savings. And I think those savings are going to be even larger now, if you will, given the rise in energy costs that we see happening, given the current events in the Middle East and the price of oil. So that's going to make that payback even faster. But we're just using the preliminary numbers here, and you see the net impact of that debt service once you factor off those savings. Likewise, the street light purchase pays for itself in only a couple of years. So that too has to be factored in as savings we've achieved, as that constitutes what we would say as our net debt service. So you can see right now in fiscal year 2011, we've got $7 million in debt service costs. And that's absent any capital plan, any implementation of the capital plan that you have before you. When you layer in year one, the $3.1 roughly $1 million of capital that we have here before you, you can see, as I've already described to the council, in fiscal year 2012, there's really that green line, it constitutes this capital budget. That doesn't have any real impact on fiscal year 2012. It won't be borrowed until the equipment is actually here, and that will be sometime in the summer and early fall. So any costs that are incurred in 2012 are just the short-term debt costs, short-term borrowing costs that we have. Then you see the first real hit that we have from the debt is in 2013, but as you can see, that's still well below the $7 million number that we have right now for debt service when you factor in the savings that we have. And then that stays constant over a period of time. We see a little blip in 2014. That has nothing to do with this vote. That has to do with the way the school building assistance money comes in 2014. That payments drop off at a point, and that debt service jumps and then levels off. So that's this year. If we just do this year, you can see that we're still below that $7 million going out into 2015 and well beyond. A good principle to follow with borrowing for your capital plan is you have an escalator on your debt service. $7 million in today's budget, 5 years out, conceivably should be $7.5 million moving forward as you remain a constant percentage of your overall operating budget. We've actually flatlined this and said, okay, assuming that we stay just at the $7 million, you can see that we're still below that. We're not asking for any approvals of the second year of the capital. We'll come back next year with that. But the question I'm sure the council has is, well, you've given us this plan. What impact does that have on future years? Well, if we did come forward in year 2, you can see that it grows. Again, it jumps up, not in 2013 this time, but jumps up a little bit in 2014 because most of the short-term borrowing would take place during 2013. But we're still below that $7 million number. Likewise, in years, if we included years 1, 2, and 3, we're still, in 2015, below the $7 million number that we have right now. And then even in year 4, you'd see still be below that $7 million number. But again, then that's when you'd start to see a creep probably in fiscal year 2016 above that $7 million number. But that's 4 years out, 5 years out from now that we'd be looking at. So what we've tried to present you with tonight is to address the concerns of maintaining debt service at a realistic, reasonable level, given the financial pressures that we've experienced and that we will be experienced certainly for another year. It is achievable to not have that. It does address important infrastructure and equipment needs, and I think it can be done in a way that will not add additional unanticipated burdens on the budget or on the taxpayer to do this, and it makes much more effective use of our employees' time and our much more effective use of our employees' productivity.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, and thank you to the various employees and department heads that are here this evening. What I'd like to do now is open the public hearing. The new loan order number is $3,129,102 for the purpose of financing various capital improvements and related architectural and engineering services in connection therewith and any costs incidental and related thereto. The public hearing is now open to those wishing to speak in favor of the loan order. In favor? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Lowell City Council, Manager Lynch, and staff. My name for the record is Mark Goldman, 58 Oakland Street, Lowell, Mass. Wish to be recorded in favor of this. This capital improvements is long overdue, and I urge that the City Council unanimously approve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Public hearing is now closed. What's the wish of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much. I know T.J. McCarthy would have been extremely happy if this happened 4 or 5 years ago, but it didn't. I do have some questions. First of all, on the infrastructure for the high school, Mr. Manager, is any of this money going to go to the Lowell High School staircases?
I believe that work is already in the works.
It's in the works?
Right.
It's being addressed?
Through other means, yes.
Okay, thank you. And I know Eddie Flynn and Eddie Patnog and everyone at DPW, they do an extremely important and dedicated job. But the two mechanics deserve a halo and a badge because nobody knows how hard those two kids work. I would like to ask Eddie Patnog of Eddie Flynn, how many pickup trucks do we have plowing the city streets with private contractors?
You're going to go to the microphone, please.
Just,
As far as pickup trucks go, I believe there's probably 86 total pickups.
86
Private
contractors. How many?
86.
86?
86 pickup trucks.
Okay, thanks, Eddie. The reason I asked that question is we're buying 8 Ford 350 pickup trucks. Are they all four-wheel drive and are they all equipped with a plow?
Yes, they can. You can buy a plow package with them 4-wheel drive, and they can do the job also.
So these new 8 pickup trucks are coming with a plow package?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. That will cut down on the outside contracting expenses. The other question I have is the $1,167,698, the sander plow dumps. There's a total of 8 of them?
That's correct.
That's going to be 8 new vehicles that can plow the streets in the city of Lowell?
Exactly.
Okay.
They'll be replacing 8, but the 8 that we have now
Definitely.
hardly work.
So you answer my questions as far as the pickup trucks, because that was really bothered me. If we were just going to go out and buy a standard pickup truck, we're spinning our wheels. I just want to let my colleagues know, you can either spend, as the ad on TV will say, you can either pay me now or pay me later. And the cost of keeping this equipment running is ludicrous, because you're putting good money into something that's worthless. And I went by the DPW garage a couple days ago. There was a huge Mack dump truck on the back of a huge tow truck. Hello? And if the people want the streets plowed properly, if they want the service they require and need, then you have to give these men and women the equipment to get the job done. Now, you could say that $3,129,000 is a lot of money, and it is. It's definitely a lot of money, and the taxpayers are going to pay for that. But it's a lot of money when you try to buy a generator, a starter, an axle, or a bearing for a Mack truck that's 19 years old. And that part costs you more money than if you were replacing it for a truck that was 4 or 5 years old. So I'm going to support this. The only thing I wish I could have voted on this 4 or 5 years ago, because T.J. McCarthy, for the longest time, was praying every single year for new equipment. Mr. Snow is going to be able to utilize this new equipment. But more importantly, the men and the women who get behind the wheel of that truck, Mr. Mayor, they're going to know at least we care, they're safe, and they're going to do a better job. So I am going to support this.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Just if I may, Counselor, I appreciate I couldn't agree with you more. Obviously, I wouldn't have brought this in if your points are right on target, and I wish we could have brought this forward to you 4 or 5 years ago as well, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Mendonça.
A few questions. Could you put up, through the mayor to the city manager, put up the chart for the debt service?
Which year would you like?
We're only dealing really, this particular vote is going to affect the first year, 2011, going forward. The others we're going to vote on separately at other times. We can decide whether we want to add that debt or not. What I'm concerned, it does show that our debt service will go down, but some of that is a result of reimbursements for the school department.
That's correct.
If we leave out that decline in both what we get and the debt service for the schools, how does that change how much the city is contributing towards debt service?
Well, if you took out the schools, it would rise dramatically. I believe we get $12 million from the schools for the school building assistance.
Yeah, it's dropping steadily.
But
So some of that, the school building part,
and that's the bottom blue portion.
You're right. Well, it distorts what the city funds will have to put into it, I think. If we remove, because if that's all reimbursement, paying debt or not. So that's what I don't understand. That's really my question is, how much of that blue is declining is city revenues?
That blue is all the net. That's after reimbursement.
Okay, that's very good then. That makes me feel better. Yep. Because I was concerned that we weren't really going to achieve those savings in city funds if there was a discrepancy between what we get from the school reimbursement. But if that blue is only what the city puts into it, not including the reimbursement, then we're going to truly achieve that decline in debt service. Right. From local revenues or local taxes.
And if I may, all of the school projects now have been audited. That of course was an issue about 4 years ago, and we saw a drop off in our school reimbursement at that time because once we got the audits done for projects that have been lingering for some time, that had an impact on the amount of reimbursement received. But at this point, it's all audited, and in fact, the Maury, the cash has already been paid over to us in its entirety.
I do have one thing to point out. Some of those older reimbursements are at 90% reimbursement. Last fall, we actually refinanced some of the city's debt, and we lowered our debt service costs substantially. Unfortunately, when you're refinancing the school debt, the state gets 90% of that benefit. So that did happen.
But basically, what we're looking at is if we vote for this evening, is it this evening? Yes. It is this evening. That we're still seeing a savings in the sense that our debt service going into FY 2012, even with this new bond, is still going to be considerably lower than it was in the current fiscal year.
That's correct.
And so you'll have those funds available to pay for this and for other city services.
Right, but if I may, I just want to, I think that I just want to caution people. First off, we won't be in that much, we won't have tons of money to play around with because of the local aid cuts that we're seeing and things like that. But I just want to, for future years, you want to be careful when you see a drop-off in debt service and you have a backlog of capital projects that you know are going to be coming on. You want to be careful. You want to know that's the importance of why you do fiscal forecasting. So you know that, so you don't add new payroll, negotiate collective bargaining agreements, anticipating that suddenly there's all this money there, because then when capital projects that need to be done come on, then you can't afford them. So that's the importance of maintaining some standard level of debt too, and in doing the fiscal forecasting. But you're right, if for fiscal year 2012, that drop-off will be very helpful to us.
And it will pay for this, and still will have savings. And looking at your chart out through 2015,
right,
we're still have, including this debt, we would have less debt service than we did this current year.
Yeah,
and that's what I was concerned about, is that we weren't going to pour on more debt on top of what we already had that would actually cost the taxpayer more than they've been paying in the previous year.
Although I do want to just, so that when you look at the budget 2 years from now and you say, well, I thought that's the net effect, because then you'll see savings in other portions of the budget, which is why we did the Amoresco project.
Yeah. Okay, but still, nonetheless, there'll be other pressures on the budget through other expenses. We just have to be careful with those as they come along. But it sounds like we can afford this without adding to the tax rate just for this purpose today. So it's good. One other question. We're replacing a large number of our sanders and plows, dumps. So we're going to have 8 new vehicles. So my question, to figure out what percentages, how many do we have altogether?
Does one of you guys know that off? They know the numbers inside and out, so.
23.
Okay, so we're replacing almost a third of them, which would be very good. So that's excellent. Okay, given the information provided tonight, I had some concerns, but I think I can support this bond at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the administration and Mr. Moses for the presentation this evening. And I just probably going to ask similar questions to what have been asked already, but this chart that's up on the screen presently reflects the savings from Amoresco,
yes,
correct? Okay. So it's a true net debt service. And that was one of the concerns I had, and I had asked for, as well as a chart to show the flow for the years to come. I too think that, I think all of us sitting here realize that these vehicles and this equipment need to be replaced. And I think folks at home realize when you have an old vehicle that at some point the cost of repairs and the downtime and it outweighs the savings in keeping the vehicle, and at some point you're better off to replace it, take on a payment, and have the stability and the reliability and the cost savings that comes along also with more efficiency and so on. And I think we're well past that point, probably on a larger number than what we have before us here this evening. And I appreciate the work that was put into this from the different department heads relative to the replacement schedule. One of the questions, I assume we will still continue to look for a surplus in government auction vehicles and replacement in the replacement process for savings.
Yes, we will.
Okay. Basically, I think this is a responsible thing to do. I think we got the letter this evening from the DOR, and paragraph 3, it talks about one of the improvements that have been made in the finances in the city. including but not limited to adoption of enterprise fund accounting for services, consolidating your finance department, creating stabilization funds, and developing capital improvement plans. And this is precisely what they're talking about, and hopefully, as Mr. Moses mentioned, we were able to go out and reduce our interest rates and have an effective savings because our bond rating increases. And hopefully, as we continue to make these wise decisions, to have a capital improvement plan and not just replace out of necessity, that we can continue to improve our bond rating over time and maybe realize more savings. And I think it's clear that this has become a problem, and it has been for years. We'd like to replace more, but I think this stays well within our means. And in accordance with the chart and the information that we're getting here, it looks like we'll see a reduction for years to come just based upon this plan, and hopefully some savings and some efficiencies in snow removal and other things as we can use our own vehicles and have less downtime. I want to thank the fellows out at the DPW for keeping things running, like MacGyver out there, keeping things running over the years, and best of luck with hopefully the new equipment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy, then Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do appreciate the presentation tonight. I think it was helpful. The graphs here do reflect the Amoresco contract, but the actual capital plan does not.
That's correct.
It's a bit dated. A lot of the items in it are from last year. So I think it would be helpful to have an actual update to it, so that we get a better picture, both with the Amoresco contract, but also in terms of, this is for the general fund debt service, but in the context of our enterprise funds, that could also put pressure, and probably will be putting pressure on our spending in the years 2014 and 15. It was mentioned in the capital improvement plan that all of these projects are prioritized on a point system, and I think it would also be helpful for the council in getting a clearer picture. Pictures are nice, but in getting a clearer picture of where our priorities lie, that we have that point, schedule, so that if something comes up, like the Rogers School roof last year, if something comes up, we have a better idea of how that fits into the capital improvement plan, and what we can go another year without doing, if something else needs to be inserted. And so I think as far as decision-making goes, the more data we have in that regard, how it aligns with the manager's goals and objectives that we approved earlier this year, would go a long way in improving the kind of transparency. Clearly, there's, from the pictures we can see that there's a need for the updates to the vehicles, and there does come to be a point at which it becomes more costly just to continually maintain the vehicles than to purchase new ones. But I guess what I would like to see in the next plan is that where that point is, basically, and what the thought process was to actually arrive at that figure, because there can be a time when it may look like it makes sense to have something replaced now, but maybe it makes better sense 2 years from now, and to get a better idea of how that decision might be made.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be perfectly truthful. I came here this evening not supporting this fully. I was not going to support this fully. And I know that these gentlemen need the equipment, and I know that our constituents say they want the service, they want the work done, and here we are trying to have Eddie Flynn perform miracles each and every time with his magic fingers. I know that. I've known for years that they've needed this equipment, and we didn't have the money. But then when I read in the paper where our Mr. Moses said that the financial analysis shows that we cannot afford to fund any capital this year, I'm thinking, so why are we doing this when we know we have to replenish our stock, and yet we have to be fiscally responsible to the people that rely on us to keep spending at a minimum? So I'm thinking, how do we justify this? On one hand, we're told we can't afford this, but yet you showed a chart that made me a believer, because I was almost going to say, Mr. Manager, find out of the list the very desperate things that we need and cut that bond in half. But the way that I see it, I think we can do it. I think we can do it. And if you didn't have this presentation, I wouldn't have supported the whole thing. I'm being truthful with you, but I'm so glad that we can. It seems from the graphs that we'll be okay. I understand, and I hope the people understand too, because they put us in charge of delivery of a service, and we rely on the people that are going to provide that, and yet we tie their hands up. We give them obstacles and make life even tougher. We can't do that. If you want the streets plowed, and you want the parks clean, and you want the things that have to be done, you have to supply them with the proper tools and the proper equipment. And so I'm happy to be able to do that, and I'm happy that you showed a graph, and I hope that in the paper they can put that it is money that we're spending, but we're trying to be frugal, we're trying to be responsible, and we're trying to, balance and, maintain it. So I'm supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some of my questions were answered by the presentation as well. And one of them, Mr. Manager, you alluded to about school projects. There is a separate school capital plan, so my question was going to be, are these priorities in line with what the school department views as their priorities? And I take it from the presentation, that's yes, right?
That is yes. And many of the school projects, or as you look through the capital plan, you can see the projects that were in there that don't carry funding in 2011 through 2015. But if you look over to the side, you can see that they've been deleted or they've been already funded because of the Amoresco project. So I can't say enough about that project, how important that is for energy savings, but also for addressing the school capital needs as well as capital needs of our other municipal buildings.
I mean, it is troubling to see some of these, the chiller replacements in buildings that are, I think they're relatively new. I mean, at least as far as other city buildings, the newest buildings we have are school buildings.
Right.
And I guess we just didn't get what we bargained for in
well, I think there's probably a couple of issues there, and I won't say definitively it was in those cases. It could be that it wasn't what we thought we were buying, or maybe the quality wasn't quite what we thought. I also think, though, it speaks to the need for maintenance. And this is an issue with the Amoresco project in particular of having the necessary maintenance. It speaks, the same goes for the roads and the sidewalks and the work that Public Works streets crews do, as well as the land and buildings people. If we don't have the resources to do the necessary maintenance, Councilor Caulfield put it, quite simply and appropriately, pay me now or pay me later. And if you don't put the money into the maintenance, then you're going to end up paying it for it in the long run.
Okay, a few more things, if I might, Mr. Mayor. There are a few things listed for enterprise funds, so the portion of the bond gets properly charged to the enterprise fund. How does that work?
Actually, they're there for your approval of the plan itself. Okay. Those things won't even be borrowed. Those are be paid out of enterprise funds in their operating budget. But we wanted to present to you the plan for that equipment.
Okay, and then there are a number of pickup trucks, and we did have this discussion a few years back about, I guess, the propriety of borrowing for. I mean, it would be an unusual case. We would never borrow money for police cruisers or something with a short life. And in my head, I guess, put pickup trucks in that category. Of course, then I see that we're keeping them for 15 years. So, which one, is that the reason, or?
We actually have two categories, and that debt service projection is fairly aggressive in that it takes all the smaller trucks, all the gasoline-powered trucks, and amortizes that debt over 5 years. And it takes the bigger diesel trucks, amortizes that longer, and the improvements to the buildings are over 20 years. So it's a fairly aggressive amortization of the debt because we know that a lot of the equipment does not have a 20-year life cycle. It has more like a 5-year life cycle, even though we will keep it for 15 years.
Okay, and so, and for the current year's budget, this is not going to impact the current year?
Impact fiscal year 11. It barely will impact fiscal year 12 because it's just the short-term interest on the borrowing that we have to do. And then the first impact will be felt in fiscal year 13 when it goes up by a couple $100,000. The debt service will go up by a couple $100,000.
Okay. All right, I think that answers most of the questions I had. Just if I could take one, I'd also like to thank the folks from DPW and Parks that are here tonight, and those that aren't, and frankly those from other departments for their work this winter. It was, I think, a difficult winter, and we don't see these folks down here very often, but we are appreciative of the efforts. It was, I think, probably the toughest winter since I've been in office, and certainly there were some issues, but I think by and large we're very well served here in the city by the work that you all did this year. So thank you for your efforts.
Well put. Thank you, Councilor Martin. Councilor Murphy, then Councilor Mendonça. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. Just returning to something that Councilor Mercia had mentioned about, potentially reducing that loan order. And I think that speaks to the importance, really, of having those numbers in place of where our priorities are, because otherwise we wouldn't have any real idea of where we would go to reduce that. But through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, when do you expect to have an actual revision of the capital plan?
Getting this one done was a challenge. I would hope that we'd potentially have a revision sometime in the fall or early winter of next year, and we'll work to. Again, this is, I was mentioning to one of the councilors earlier that, if you look at the capital plan that we submitted 2 or 3 years ago, it was a pretty rudimentary document. This one's much better in terms of laying out the information and giving you the information about each piece of equipment and each project. Each year we're going to work to make this document better and better, and so it takes a little bit of time to actually get that work done, but I would hope that we'd be able to get that revision to you sometime in the fall or winter, so that we can then do something similar, knowing what impact it's going to have on the next fiscal year's budget ahead of time before we go into the actual operating budget.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Mendonça.
Well, I'm certainly been supportive of having the capital plan, and I know we have to replace the stuff. It was interesting to hear one of my colleagues mention that we're doing this work on a Butler school, and it's one of our new schools.
Right.
Well, the fact is, it's 20 years old.
Right.
And if we don't start taking care of these earlier schools, I think it was the first new middle school, that they're going to pile on.
Right.
The others are going to start to fail as well because they're all becoming near 20 or beyond. Maybe some of them will last 30 years. That'll be great. But we have to plan in order to be able to do these replacements without having them pile on and become an emergency situation. Yeah. So I'm happy that I am able to support this part of the capital plan and that we do continue to plan ahead to have the funds available to make these replacements as they become necessary.
Thank you. Councilor Dakota, then Councilor Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've heard a lot of things from my colleagues tonight that I agree with, and one is the maintenance issue. I think it's critical, and we learned this recently from the Stocklosa School, that we need to have a great plan for maintaining new equipment that we purchase. So I would like to see something from the administration about how we plan on maintaining this equipment, if I may. And then secondly, to Councilor Mercier's point, I think we do all come in here hoping that we could do half this year and half, or a third this year, a third next year, a third in the following year. So I would like to know if you could, through your sir, to the city manager, how do these purchases fit into our strategic plan? And secondly, this level of debt service, we talked a lot about benchmarking and best practice when we talked about the data analyst. How does this level of debt service fit into best practices with communities our size?
If I could, let me. I'm going to have Mr. Moses talk about the debt levels. My general sense is, and he may have a better, a more specific idea of this. I would say that our overall debt levels in the city of Lowell are low compared to what would be considered best practice. But let me just say to the point of doing a third this year and a third next year. Effectively, that's what we've done. I think we have to kind of keep that in mind, that if you were to take every request of every department, and I actually don't know the number off the top of my head, but if you go out the full 5 years and added it all up, that would be the total capital need that we have. Mm-hmm. And so what effectively we've done is we have gone in and said, we're going to do a fifth or some portion this year, some portion next year, and there's a big chunk this year that's going towards equipment because that's where the highest need is. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we focus so much on that. We're replacing a third of our fleet of dump trucks and Sanders this year. I don't think we will be coming in next year and doing a third. Again, we'll be doing a smaller portion in all likelihood, and a smaller portion beyond that, and you get yourself on a schedule. But to Councilman Johnson's point about the Butler School and sort of letting things pile up, that's what's happened here with the equipment, is we've let it pile up to a point that we need to buy 8 pieces of equipment. Now there are dangers to that. The danger is that these pieces of equipment last 15 years. That's more in keeping, I would say. You shouldn't be having dump trucks lasting 25, 28 years. But the problem you're going to run into is all of these pieces of equipment, these 8, will all come due 15 years from now. And so that's why you want to do a smaller portion each year. It was great that the city built so many schools over the last number of years, but in truth, it should have been done in a different way. It should have been done earlier and stretched out longer, so that you were only replacing things a certain amount each year, and there wasn't this sudden. Communities that go through periods of tremendous growth and find themselves building all their schools at one time or building all their roads at one time run into a problem because of that. Everything comes at once. That's why you need a planned course of development and a planned infrastructure. So I'll let Tom speak to the best practice.
If I may, before you go into that, really the first part of the question was, how does this purchase and then future purchases fit into your strategic plan, in addition to the capital plan? Because I do understand that we want to be able to, every year, every 2 years, or every 4 years, know that we are going to be making an investment in equipment. And it should be systematic, and it should be based on a long-term plan. I do understand that. So how does this purchase fit into your plan, one, and then where are we at with our best practices?
Well, I don't know if I have a good answer for you on the strategic plan question, primarily because we are doing catch-up. In my perfect world, we wouldn't be buying all of this equipment this year. We would have bought some 4 years ago, and unfortunately, we weren't ready to buy it 4 years ago because there wasn't any planning that was done. Likewise, there hadn't been any planning done for some of the infrastructure improvements. You need to do that. It's like the amount of money that the city spent back in the late 1990s on the pavement management system, and then essentially tossed it aside. And so road work, I mean, the amount of road work that the city needs is enormous. Councilor Caulfield knows this. He and I went on a tour for my first week here and looked at some neighborhoods in the city that hadn't received road work for 40, 50 years probably. You need to invest in your infrastructure, and it has to be done in a strategic way. You are right on with that, but right now, the catch-up that we're doing with the infrastructure that we did with the Amoresco project and this equipment is just getting us to a better point, and then in a base from which we can then move forward. And that's what we really need to do.
In terms of our debt service load, let's take roughly a $300 million budget. It's a little less in the general fund, but 1% is $3 million a year, and you're seeing a debt service there of under $7 million. So that's roughly 2%. That's very low. When debt service after reimbursements gets to about 7 or 8%, bond rating agencies start to worry. We're nowhere near that. And it looks unusual because our gross debt service before all those is about $20 million, in just a little less than $20 million in the general fund. So we get quite a bit of reimbursement. But there's another aspect that's very important. If you read Moody's and Standard & Poor's reports on our financial condition, one of the things they always talk about is our relatively aggressive and quick amortization of the debt. And I'd like to point out there's a dark green line that kind of fades out in 2013. That's the couple of $1 million that we borrowed from to build the new emergency communications center. We didn't have to amortize that debt that quickly. Those are choices that we're making, trying to fill in these gaps and keep everything level so that we can accommodate these capital plans and purchases. That's not luck. We're trying real hard to do these things. And that's what Moody's and Standard & Poor's takes a look at and gives us a pat on the back for.
We will probably need to invest some capital money in a new sound system in the...
I know. It sounds like it's raining. I know. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate both of those answers. I do know that when you're making decisions about equipment, it's very difficult to weigh new purchase versus maintenance of equipment. So I appreciate that, and I know that the staff will do well with the new equipment. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
Thank you. I will be brief because many of the questions I have been answered as well, and it was a good presentation, Mr. Manager, to you and to your staff. I think the presentation reflects the needs that we do have just for equipment, and I think some of my colleagues, I can support the Sanders and I can support the snowplows. They're 28 years old. That is a safety hazard. I guess what I have concerns with, and it's not an easy vote, but what my concerns are that we're buying some other things that, while there may be a need, I don't know if I can tell the taxpayers that we should be buying vans and cars and pickup trucks that are valued up to $45,000-$50,000. Is there a need? There clearly is a demonstrated need, but I just don't know, or personally, I don't think this is the time that we can do it. Can we cut it in half? The $1 million for Sanders and snowplows, I know that's not the loan order before us. And I also realize that this year is not the time when we're going to see that increase in debt service. And I'm concerned we're going into one of the toughest, if not the toughest, fiscal years, but we're also told that we're in one of the slowest recoveries and that we're not going to see local aid, we're not going to see state aid come back, we're probably not going to see revenues come back in a timely fashion as we perhaps have in the past. So I would like to support the snow plows and the sanders, but I think some of the things that, we probably have to wait. And Mr. Manager, I appreciate your explanation. We are in this position of buying so many pieces of equipment, or the recommendation to buy equipment, because we need to do it on a more regular basis. But I'm looking down the road, as I'm sure you are. Healthcare costs, pension costs, week after week, it's some need that costs money, and as a city, we can only do so much. You're right. We need to spend more money on our roads. I can remember a conversation. We need to get more police officers on the streets when we have issues of crime. So I think what our priorities coming down the road, coming into not only this fiscal year, but the next fiscal year. And I'm concerned to take this vote to see what the impact is, knowing that we're going to have so many expenses and so many costs coming down the road. So I just wanted to make those comments, and thank you, Mayor.
The Trinity contribution, the Trinity, thank you, the Trinity donation. Some of the other pieces of equipment really are, some of the land and buildings vans, as I indicated, 2 of them aren't CAM pass inspection, which means that, we're trucking our employees and our materials around the city in a very inefficient way. And I think if we go back to the comments that were made regarding the maintenance of our buildings, if we look and say, well, how are we doing in terms of maintaining our buildings, maintaining our facilities, we're not going to be able to truly maintain the way we should if our workforce isn't being, particularly with the cuts that have taken place, if they aren't able to do the job efficiently and effectively. If we have to, be having people driving all over the city because they have to work out of one van, and there's projects taking place at a dozen schools, and they suddenly need a piece of equipment or a tool that they don't have, and they have to trek across town to get it, that doesn't make sense. And so I understand the points you're making, and I understand the pressures we're under. But I think if we're really going to, again, I'll quote Councilor Caulfield: "You pay now or you pay later." And one way or another, this work has to be done. But I think you make some very good points. But I think that this plan tries to address that.
I agree, and I'm not I don't disagree with what you're saying, Mr. Manager, and it is it's 3.1 million, so maybe it's 2 years from now, but within 2 years' time, as long as I've been sitting here, and as long as you've been a manager, I'm sure other things are going to come up. I'm just concerned. I'm concerned with the impact we'll have 2 years out when we vote this, and whether I'm sitting here or not, knowing that we have so many other expenses, so many other costs that we have, and that's my point. Thank you.
Councilor Caulfield, do you want to be recognized again?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Is this working?
Yes.
Probably 6 years ago, the average cost for snow removal in this city was $1.6 million. 2010, the cost was $2.3 million. 2011, it was $2.7 million. Now, I know sand and salt are expensive. You just can't get away from that. But how much of this cost was attributed to 2 plow trucks being up on jacks. We're not out there plowing. You have to look at that. If you have equipment, and as the men indicated, there's 23 vehicles, but only 17 are out there plowing snow. That doesn't make common sense. And I haven't heard one member of the council, they probably have, quietly, but $2.7 million for snow removal, 2011. That's 1 year. This 3.1 million is over 20 years. And I assure you, acquiring this new equipment, you're going to reduce that cost. And the winters aren't going to get milder. They're going to be more severe. If the weather forecasts indicate New England is going to get hit with some severe winters over the next decade. So we wouldn't allow police officers to drive around in a cruiser that's 15 years old. We wouldn't allow the fire department to ride around in a fire truck that's 20 years old. They deserve the equipment that they need to get the job done. And I'm supporting this. It's a worthwhile cause.
Thank you. What's the wish of the council? Move approval by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Roll call.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
No.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Did he say no? 7 yeas, 2 nays. 8. I thought he said no. 8 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you all. It was a good discussion. Next item under the city manager. In city council vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a donation of 45 empty 15-gallon barrels for reuse from Watermark Environmental Incorporated. Whereas Watermark Environmental was conducting remediation at a job site, and as a byproduct of that project, Watermark Environmental desires to donate the clean and rinsed 45 empty 15-gallon barrels and put them to reuse in a second life to the city of Lowell. And whereas the city of Lowell desires to accept the gift of said refurbished 45 empty 15-gallon barrels, and whereas the empty barrels will be converted to bottle and can recycling bins, and Watermark Environmental also desires to donate the decals for said bins, and whereas it is the desire that the bottle and can bins be used for recycling at athletic fields in the city of Lowell. Now therefore be it voted that the city manager be, and he is hereby authorized in the name of the city of Lowell to accept the gifts from Watermark Environmental of 45 empty 15-gallon barrels and the donation of the decals for said barrels pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Be it further voted that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, jointly and severally do hereby commend and officially extend the gratitude of the City of Lowell to Watermark Environmental for the generosity displayed through the donation of these gifts to the City of Lowell. Second reading by title. In City Council vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a donation of 45 empty 15-gallon barrels for reuse from Watermark Environmental Incorporated. What's the wish of the council? Move approval by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Murphy. Roll call.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick. Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you. The next item, reports. Chair recognizes Councilor Martin, the Chair of the Economic Development Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The subcommittee met this evening to discuss progress being made on the Hamilton Canal project pursuant to a motion filed a few weeks ago by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Broderick, Councilor Dakota, Councilor Murphy, and myself serve on the committee. Most of the other members, including yourself, were present at the meeting. The Hamilton Canal District project continues to proceed and make substantial and significant progress. The Appleton Mills portion, which is the first work that's been done, is near completion. It will contain 130 units of housing and the developers, Trinity Development, who were at the meeting and presented on the project, expect occupancy to begin approximately a month from now. I think that April 22nd is their target date to have people moving in, and they expect to be full by the end of this calendar year. So that is certainly a significant milestone. It represents $45 million capital investment by MetLife, and total project cost somewhere around $65 million. So there were 165 applicants to date for that housing, and there's a program that they go through if they're artists, and they be recognized and certified as artists, and 127 of those 165 applicants are true artists. And so we're going to really see, I think, an artist community develop there. There's a ribbon cutting event that we anticipate to have later in the spring or early summer. But so that, at least that portion of the project is a great success story. The next thing on, I guess, on Trinity's plate is the Freudenberg building. It's office space with about 54,000 square feet available for development. They are working on securing financing to at least complete the core and shell portion of the building, which will make it hopefully more attractive to a tenant. So they've had discussions about financing. They're optimistic about it, and that's the next piece. And then beyond that is some of their infrastructure work with one of the bridges and what they refer to as parcels 8 and 9, which are maybe a 2-year time frame from here. So that's kind of the private investment portion of this. We also heard from Adam Bakey and from the city manager and others about the city and the public component. There's certainly been the start of some infrastructure work, linking up the Gallagher Terminal to sort of the entrance of the new Hamilton Canal District. So that infrastructure work is ongoing. It's we've been fortunate through the DPD to secure grant funding for virtually all of this work. A lot of it is done in conjunction with the Park Service, and so a lot of it consists of walkways along canalways, because that's what qualifies for federal funding. So the DPD has certainly done a very good job in leveraging available federal dollars for this. Even with a project of this size, there's been very little city investment, city resident taxpayer dollars. There was the investment to acquire the Freudenberg site back in 2004, I believe, for about $3.5 million or so, and even that bond's been paid down to now about $2 million. And there's literally, of all these multi-million dollars, we've been able to get them either from private sources or from the state and federal government. The last portion we heard about briefly was the courthouse project, which is, at least there was some recent media reports, seems to be on track for a 2015 opening. That is certainly one of the premier development sites in the project, and that will have an impact here as well. So that was really the report that we heard this evening. This has been, and I want to compliment particularly Adam Bakey at DPD, but really the entire department received plaudits from Trinity for their good work, and how Trinity really sings the praises of Lowell all over the state. And I think that's obvious at all levels of state government. This is really the complexity in this type of project, with a federal national park, with these protected canals and historic resources, the various types of transportation, the canal system, the train station, the potential use of a trolley system. The complexity is really hard to fathom sometimes, and it does take some clear thinking and dedicated people to cut through the bureaucracy to get to real progress. And we have that here in Lowell. We're fortunate to have it. I think it's been recognized so all the way to the governor. The governor campaigned at this site. This site has produced hundreds of construction jobs already, with more to come. And it certainly had the support of the governor. Our legislative delegation has been very supportive. Our federal delegation has been supportive of this. And so it is, I think, just the beginning, but it's an important beginning, you know, with over a $60 million investment in the first building. And in this economy, that is no small achievement. And it's meant work for our residents, and it's going to mean quality places to live. So there's certainly a long development plan ahead here, and there's plenty of work left to be done. But at least the first steps have been taken well, and got the project off to a good start.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. Anyone else on the report? Motion by Councilor Dakota, seconded by Councilor Murphy to accept the report as a report of progress. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Councilor Mendonça?
Just to let my colleagues know that we've scheduled a collegiate partnership subcommittee meeting next Tuesday. It'll be before the council meeting, and obviously we'll get notice from the clerk as appropriate.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
5:30.
5:30 collegiate partnership meeting next week. Okay. Anything else on the reports? Hearing none, moving on to the petitions. We have National Grid for conduit location to place 925 feet in Broadway and Lewis Street and approximately 50 feet in Middlesex Street. Refer to a public hearing on April 5th by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Under miscellaneous, we have a petition from Jenny Young at 44 Mead Street. Request a handicap parking sign. Motion by Councilor Rita Mercia, seconded by Councilor Mendonça to refer to the traffic engineer. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed to the vote. In claims this evening, we have 7 claims. Motion by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Martin, who refer to the law department. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Moving on to the motion section of the agenda this evening. The first motion is by Councilor Caulfield. City Council requests the mayor to request the school department to take the necessary steps to designate school property to Dr. Wayne Peters, former school superintendent. Second by Councilor Murphy. And I also see Jim Peters, Dr. Peters' son, in the audience this evening.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We've had some wonderful and talented superintendents of Lowell Public Schools over the years. Wonderful people. And Dr. Wayne Peters was one of them. And I was contacted by a family member to see if I would file a motion, and I did, Mr. Mayor, and the motion will be transferred to you to bring it forward to the school committee, because they have a subcommittee for naming rights and so forth. And what the family would like to know, if there's an available space in the library, auditorium, gymnasium, something to honor this man for his dedication, his work. He's failing health, and I personally and many people in the city would like to see this happen. And I don't know if Jim Peters would want to say anything or not, or if not, if it's fine.
No? Good evening, Jim.
My father is in failing health, as Councilor Caulfield said, and we're just very deeply appreciative of the fact that he brought this forward to you, and it would be a great honor to my father if something like this happened. So that's basically all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. It'd be my honor to bring this forward if the council approves the motion this evening to the school committee. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. I'll bring that forward. Thank you. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. Motion, City Council requests the city manager add White Street from VFW Highway to Mount Hope Street to the repaving or repairing list. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I received a call from a constituent, and I went down White Street, and 90% of White Street is in tremendous shape. But from Mount Hope Street to the VFW Highway, the street could or should be repaved or repaired. And the constituent said that the city goes up and they patch holes, and it just doesn't last, around manhole covers and so forth. So in that section, Mr. Manager, the street, it should be addressed, and either scarify those sections and repair it, or repave the entire street. Chapter 90 money, we're gonna get an increase from the governor, so that's the gist of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
I was just going to say that we'll be happy to look into White Street and that particular area. And Councilor Caulfield mentioned the efforts that we go out just to sort of patch what we can. And it was something that Mr. Snow and I were discussing just the other day as we were going through some different issues. And I mentioned earlier we were buying another one of those pieces of sidewalk equipment that will have some apparatus or equipment on it that is designed to do a much more efficient and effective job of patching. So it sounds like this needs more than patching.
Definitely.
But we'll certainly get out there and take a look at that and see what we can do to get that done.
There are certain streets where you can patch and get away with it.
Right.
But this section of the street is a huge patch, and it's just not gonna work. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mendoza?
One thing I am concerned about this motion is that if we all start bringing forth motions to repair streets or repave them. So I'm concerned, we do have a street index and a repaving. It'd be good to know where this is. Hopefully, if it's in that bad a shape, it would qualify for repaving using the existing process. Or do we need to relook at that process to see, are we weighting the streets properly so that they get done appropriately? Yeah. So that's my concern with this motion.
Thank you.
I didn't understand. What's your concern with the motion?
We have a priority list already, and I'd hate to see every council start to bring in lists that hop over that, or ask requests for repaving that hop over that list, if those other streets on the list are in worse shape.
Well,
so that was my concern.
Council, you take a ride up White Street and then come back and see me next Tuesday and let me know if it's in bad shape.
I understand Councilman Mendoza's point. Any more comments regarding the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, vote. Next motion by Councilor Elliott. Motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to see that list because I must have misplaced it. I didn't know there was a list.
Yeah, we do have.
Correct.
If I may, we do have a list that was generated. Actually, it was a list that was, or a study that was done back in the late 1990s. And I know there was the infamous
book
that
Councilor
Tenza threw across the room. That book was then put on a shelf and accumulated dust for a number of years. We've updated that list. We utilized Chapter 90 money to actually have an engineering firm update the list, and that's what we use as what streets we're going to do at a given time. Sometimes it isn't actually the worst streets that get done. If they're little traveled roads that are in very bad shape, they may not get done because you want to maintain the streets that get a large amount of traffic. So there's a science, or there's an approach that's being utilized there. And sometimes there are some smaller roads that they just need a little tender loving care, and maybe something can be done with those. But the response that the administration will use in responding to the motion will be to look at it in terms of that street list. Obviously go out and make sure that the information is correct, because we have hundreds of miles of street here in the city, but and then see what we can do to sort of fill the gap if that's a problem. But it will be based on that type of approach. But we will be taking a look at it.
And we will get a new copy of this
I will have Lisa DeMayo print out some copies.
Thank you. Councilor Garfield?
Mr. Mayor, the motion reads, repair or repave, and leaving it up to the discretion of the manager. If they can repair that section of the street, fine. But if it makes no sense of constantly repairing this street year after year after year, and it just ends up in crumbles, holes. So that's what the constituents are complaining about.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things here. Number one, if we could get this list online for folks, I think it would be helpful. And I understand Councilman Dance's concern. It's difficult when motions come in on specific streets, when it seems like you're telling people, no, your street's not bad enough. But I was thinking actually the same thing as you mentioned, that we have to be careful. This is the time of the year when we're going to walk downtown, go to the store, and someone's going to grab us routinely. Either a sign's down because a plow hit it, or the street's in bad repair, or in bad shape, you know, and it's going to be the potholes mostly. The signs, you know, that's not necessarily that big a deal, but we do have a list, and I think it would be wise going forward to refer these and have them put in some type of order with the list, so it doesn't seem like if you don't call the city council, your street's not going to be taken care of. But you know, this street is in rough shape, and I think, you know, something should be done. But I think that it's a valid concern. It's not, has nothing to do with this particular motion here. But I think going forward, we're all going to be inundated with issues relative to potholes. I hit one today, you know, and it's going to be a difficult issue for us to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you. This motion has already actually been voted on, so I'll move on to the next motion by Councilor Elliott. Motion, City Council requests the city manager to report on the impact the wastewater treatment discs have had on the water system and to seek to recoup any costs associated with the cleanup. Seconded by Councilor Caulfield.
I know there's been a number of articles in the newspaper, Mr. Manager, and I don't know exactly what our costs, if any, are at this point. But I just wanted to, you know, get a report and let people know. I presume that there's no impact to the water quality, but I just thought it was important at least to bring it forward and to find out exactly, you know, how many have turned up in our particular area, if there's any way to come up with that number. But when you read the news reports, and there's 8 million of these discs, and they're ending up all the way down in Revere and Nahant, it's a little unsettling. And then I did read an article, I think it was in the Eagle Tribune, that Hooksett has accepted responsibility for these, and they will be paying any and all costs that communities are absorbing. So that's just in the most, Mr. Manager. I don't know if we have incurred any costs yet. Have we?
We haven't incurred any costs. We can get a full report to the council on this. Essentially, we've been working with the state on this. This is you know, obviously this is if every community along the way goes off and does their own thing, it will become far more complex. So essentially, we've been all working with the state. They've been coordinating this. They will be organizing the cleanup. Some areas of the city along the Merrimack River, actually not just in Lowell, but all the way down, can be quite dangerous for people, volunteers, to go and try to pull them out. So the state is doing that. They're going to be hiring a firm to do that, and they're going to be, the Hooksett people are going to be paying the bill.
Excellent. Thank you. And it's funny, we received a response from you, Mr. Manager, on a motion that Council Caulfield made regarding 1,000 volunteers in one day. And one of them was, part of your response was maybe, you know, doing some riverside cleanup, roadways along the Merrimack River, et cetera. So, but knowing that you just mentioned that this can be dangerous, and we probably don't want these kids or volunteers picking up these discs, that kind of shoots my idea down. But thank you for the response. I look forward to the report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to the vote. Next motion by Council Mercia. Motion, City Council requests the city manager have the law department draw up the proper vote for 60-day trial handicap parking space in front of 94 First Street. Second by Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This vote is very critical to the needs of this woman, because she has a daughter that has cerebral palsy and never seems to have a place to park in front of her house. The daughter is very incapacitated in that she has to walk with a walker, and sometimes she's very ill and the mother has to carry her from across the street, and this would make her life a little bit easier, and it's very important. And she did provide all the necessary paperwork to the city clerk, so all the paperwork is in order. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to the vote. Next motion by Council Mercia. Motion, City Council requests the city manager to have the proper department remove the barriers on the Aiken Street and Willette Bridge to reveal the beauty of the river for waiting traffic. second by Councilman Mendoza.
And
Council
doesn't the
Mercy.
motion speak for itself?
Thank
And let me just say that when you're sitting in traffic there, you see the beautiful silhouette drawings. I appreciate the artwork, very beautiful. But, and I'm not saying to do it right now, because God knows there may be another snowstorm Thursday. So having said that, and suffice it to say, I'm just happy if we could take those barriers down when the time comes, because when you look to the right and you look up to St. John's Hospital, you see the beauty of the water, but you can't see it the other way, and I think that's the purpose of the...
Mr. Manager?
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I could, to council, people are going to think that we set these things up each week. We're working in tandem here. Those boards on the Willette Bridge as well as the Cox Bridge are both going to be taken down in April. We're not sure when they're going back up, if ever, but we agree they're a source of some vandalism and some. They don't look particularly attractive. The silhouette drawings are very nice, but they need to be kept up as well, but they do obscure the view of the river, and we've been working with the Centerville Neighborhood Association, and both those bridges are going to come down in April.
Oh, good, thank you. Not the bridges, but the barriers.
Right.
I want the bridges
Thank you
down.
for correcting me.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, vote. The last motion of the evening by Councilor Mercia. Motion, City Council requests the city manager contact the mayor of Haverhill relative to the possibility of developing their plan for a boat mooring program on the water and see if there's interest to do the same or do so in Lowell. Second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this motion is bizarre, but that's okay, because it's just asking that we can experiment and be inquisitive. It's an inquisitive motion to see if we can contact Mayor James Ferrantini to see what's up in Haverhill. Maybe, because they're in the process of investigating that. And what's good in other cities, we could use it ourselves. And so we might say to ourselves, well, where's the land that we have along the river that we could utilize to put this mooring if it's financially sound? Well, I'm thinking, didn't Chancellor Meehan give us a portion of land by the river in exchange for a swap or whatever when we sold the property at the maintenance garage? And I'm thinking, if it isn't swampland, perhaps maybe then we could probably use that land there and put it to some use. And then maybe we could see people that are interested in leasing a slip for their boat so that we have activity along the water. I personally always felt that the water was a jewel, but we don't capitalize on that. That's my capital improvement plan for the next year.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, Mr. Manager.
We don't yet have control of that piece of land. That still has to work its way through the legislature, just so to give this council an update on that. But I think it's a very good motion, and we will be inquisitive.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Motion, nothing else to come before the council? Oh, Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind the council and everyone in the city of Lowell that Friday, March 25th, is Greek Independence Day. There'll be a flag-raising ceremony at City Hall, a parade from the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church will happen 11 a.m. to City Hall, and it's a special day in the Greek community, and it should be.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Being no further business, motion to adjourn by Council Martin, seconded by Council Mendoza. We stand adjourned.
You're welcome, Jim.